Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I wanted to talk about difficulty in Destiny 2, the contest mode, raid, root of nightmares, and all these hot button topics that have been floating around the internet for the last few days. And I think the take is somewhere in the middle of most people's opinions from my personal experience. I am a player who's been playing Destiny since day one. I have done all of the raids, but I'm not a low man raider. I'm not a hardcore grinder in that respect. So I think I have kind of a semblance of what both sides want, and that's where I just wanted to have this conversation. So, first and foremost, the power creep in Destiny has been growing ever since Forsaken, and was even enhanced with the 3.0 subclasses to a degree that made a lot of the game trivial. Now, that's not going to be the case for everybody. Everyone's level of difficulty within Destiny is very different based on how they do builds, how long they've been playing, how comfortable they are with the game, all that kind of good stuff. But another big part of it that I think people don't consider is the gap between the highest end players and the lower end players has been increased to a degree that it's almost an entirely different game for those different sets of folks. And so what I mean by that is you look at players who are doing three-man raids on contest mode, all that kind of good stuff, and they are out of this world, and we've only seen more and more players get into that as time has gone on, right? So more players are doing low man activities, they're raiding a lot, and at the same time, we're seeing a lot of players who are at the other end of the spectrum who still do struggle with all sorts of activities throughout the game. They need just a little bit more guidance or assistance when it comes to getting raids done at all, if they even try them out in the first place. So, because of that, I think the gulf has become so wide that it's impossible for Bungie to balance for either one. And unfortunately, that's led to this kind of disconnect when they're both sides are giving that feedback. So, a couple things that I wanted to kind of point out. One, the highest end players are always going to be doing things that the rest of the player base won't. And so you kind of want to reward them, but at a certain point the rewards are going to be self-fulfilling, and insofar as that, like, the low man raids don't give you any kind of emblem or better weapons or anything like that, because the power creep will be even greater if you give the top end players even better stuff. The game will be that much easier, and the gulf widens that much more, meaning that, again, Bungie can't satisfy both sides. You look at an emblem, that's fine, and we have contest mode raids like the Root of Nightmares, where more players completed it on contest mode for a couple reasons. One, the power creep. Two, 48 hours, a true 48 hours, unlike Vow of the Disciple, which was supposed to be 24, but it was only extended because of bugs and glitches and stuff, and people didn't really plan for 48 hours. And then another reason that I think is often overlooked is that the quickness of the raid does not necessarily mean it's an easier raid. And we've seen easier raids or faster raids in the past with Scourge of the Past, we've got Eater of Worlds, we've got Crota's End. So as long as the game has been going on, we've had faster raids and then longer, more intensive raids. And so we don't have a true quick raid in the game like those others that I mentioned. So that's why I think we're seeing Root of Nightmares be that speed running type of raid that really is introductory for a lot of players as they want to get into raiding, because we're building towards the final shape. That is the end goal for all of this. The game is probably going to look very different after the final shape as it does now, so they want more players to be taking on these raids. And not only did more players complete the contest mode Root of Nightmares, but more players attempted the contest mode Root of Nightmares, and that is a major factor in what I think Bungie is doing, because they want these raids to be not just accessible, but they want people to be encouraged to take them on and have that chance to tackle them. Now, is that going to leave some of the higher end players a little salty because they feel like it's not hard enough for them personally or it's watered down. Sure, that's always going to happen. But the best of the best are going to create those opportunities. They're going to do low man or flawless activities during the contest mode, and that's going to give them an additional level of challenge that they're looking for. Now, should they be rewarded for that? Again, I don't know. All the years that I've been playing Destiny, I think there's a reason that the hard mode raids that have different mechanics, that have better gear, like a variety of armor, like sets that are different, better weapons, all that kind of stuff. There's a reason you don't see that anymore in Destiny, and that is because the game is largely casual friendly, and Bungie has to decide on where they're going to put the most resources. We have less of those, but we get 2 dungeons every year, which we never got any in D1, and those recently we've gotten 2 raids, 1 new, 1 reprise, and 2 dungeons every single year. That is where the end game is focused, and a lot of players who cannot complete a hard mode raid will tackle these dungeons. So it's just worthwhile for them to put a lot more time, energy, and effort into those types of activities and give more players the opportunity to finish them, rather than focusing so hard on those end game activities that just at the end of the day are still going to be destroyed by the high end players, but there's going to be so relatively few players who actually take them on that it's just not going to be worth it. Despite all the talk of the emblem being watered down for the contest mode raid, all that kind of good stuff, only 2% of all players from Destiny actually finished the contest mode raid. So that kind of tells you the game does not have a large hardcore base, does not have, they are a vocal minority. And so at the opposite end of the spectrum, the people that don't believe anything should be nerfed, don't believe well or divinity or any of these things should be adjusted ever, they are also a vocal minority. In the middle, you have the vast majority of players who sometimes will tackle legendary difficult content, sometimes they'll tackle master raids and stuff, but more often than not, they'll complete the raids, they'll try contest mode, they won't finish often, but they'll give it a shot, and then that's it. And this recent Root of Nightmares raid encouraged even more of those players to take it on. So I think it's a net positive overall, despite people being upset either way. And ultimately, difficulty in Destiny, I saw some comparisons to where people were saying, oh, your patrols and the nightfall last week was harder. The legendary version of the exotic quest this season was harder. I don't believe that. I know players who could not do the contest mode raid and were able to finish those activities. Are they a pain in the butt sometimes? Sure. But are they easier than contest mode raid? Absolutely not. The difference is a lot of times you'll have 6 players who are locked in, fully focused, and no distractions trying to take on these activities. And they perfected their builds, all that kind of good stuff. That's why you're going to see the difference with the contest mode raids and why it can sometimes feel a little bit easier, even though ultimately it's not, as long as you are paying the same level of attention to that as you are to the other activities in the game. So those are just my thoughts. I know this has been, again, all over the place online as people talk about difficulty in Destiny. I think we're shaping up to see a much bigger change in Destiny than we ever have post the final shape. I wouldn't be surprised if last gen console players, PS4, Xbox One, they stop getting new content. They won't stop making Destiny 2 for those players. They can still play it, but they won't have access to the new content in order for Destiny to really fulfill its potential at this point. But we'd also probably see a gap then after the final shape in new content. So there's a lot of changes coming. I think people have to be a little bit more patient and understanding of where the game is heading, what the direction is in the future of Destiny 2, Destiny as a franchise as well, because there are a lot of those questions that will be answered ultimately. But this year is almost like a transition year. So that's my thoughts on the matter. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me. I like to give my thoughts all the time on the game. So definitely stay tuned for that. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.